and I am joined by one of our, I'll say most famous alums, one of them at least is, especially in the broadcasting side, with Mr. Guy Wisinski. Guy, thank you for being here.
Dan, it's a pleasure, and I wouldn't say anything about being famous. I would just say all about enjoyment and my days back and from 1981 to 85 with WPCR doing the games here on the radio and what we like to call the Dudek era.
Joe Dudek, a very special player for those who don't know. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how you started with the radio station and some of the broadcasts in the early days.
Pretty funny. You know, I'll tell you, I've always been a sports fan, and I was living in Hall Dorm in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and it was a good friend of mine, Russ Archibald. And we decided, we were sitting there, guys are playing pool and ping pong, and we're watching a game. We turned the volume down, and we started doing play-by-play in color. And all of a sudden, some guy who I didn't know, who happened to be visiting a friend, he was meeting with the RA there, said, you know, I'm the manager of WPCR Radio, and I just talked to John Clark, and we need to get basketball on the air at Plymouth State. He goes, you guys are pretty good. He goes, you want to take a shot at this? And I said, are you kidding me? He goes, no. He says, we have a game on Tuesday night. This was on Sunday. So we raised the flag, went up to Foley Gymnasium, and kind of started that. Had a great time. Russ was more of a basketball guy, and they were nice enough to say, hey, we need somebody for football. Would you like to do football? And it just so happened it was my freshman year. I ended up not being good enough to play in college. I knew the game a little bit. Really enjoyed it and had 4 of the most fun years of my life up in the broadcast booth, and kind of started there. Was going to had some opportunities in Boston and Hanover, New Hampshire, but went a different route, but have now kind of gotten back into it at the high school level where I live down in Darien, Connecticut. So we have some pretty good sports teams down there. So it's just enjoyable. And again, thank you very much for inviting me today. Have had a great weekend here at Plymouth, and if anyone were here, they could look outside. It's a beautiful 75, 80 degree day here in the White Mountains of the gorgeous Plymouth, New Hampshire, and looking up I-90 up 93 this morning, I was like, wow, it's good to be back here in my home state. Live free or die.
So talking a little bit about your adventures back into high school sports in Connecticut, I understand that you guys have just gotten lights at the field down there. Talk a little bit of how much that has transformed the programs having lights at that field.
Well, it's been kind of a passion of mine. I was fortunate enough to coach and one of the guys that ran the youth football league for about 10 years. And when I started coaching, where we live is about 30 miles outside of New York City. So trying to recruit coaches where we'd have, 2, 3, and 4 teams at each grade level for football, and getting fathers off the train and being able to coach, they were leaving the work at 5:30 and could not coach. And these are guys that played at Yale, played at Plymouth State, played at Clemson, good guys who wanted to pay it forward and give back, but couldn't because they didn't have the time. So a few of us took the initiative of getting portable lights, and in our town, the zoning laws are very, very tight. So it took us a long time, but we got portable lights. And recently, last Friday night, we flipped on the lights, permanent lights, for the first time, the most high-tech Musco lights, to the point where people were nervous because it's just a box of light. There is absolutely no spillage. It's phenomenal. For a high school game, we had 3,600 people there. It was a community event, and we've already had soccer now. We've had field hockey games. My daughter plays field hockey, and I'm sitting there. So I kind of started this project when my son was in 5th grade and I was coaching. He's now 2 years out of college. Fortunately, I have a daughter who's a senior in high school and can use the lights this year in field hockey and in lacrosse. So it's been fun.
So tying that in, as you were a keynote speaker here last night at Merrill Place, we are having that initiative of trying to get a new stadium, so to speak, here. And how can we tie that in with paying it forward, as you mentioned? So much has gone into this program. Tailgating's back. You see the atmosphere behind the building.
Tremendous.
How can we convince people to help support not only football, but all of the athletic sports and the campus by getting lights and that turf field here?
Let's be honest. I'm one of these guys that tells it and sees it like it is. For about 10 years, I really did not feel engaged with Plymouth State University, okay? I don't think they did a great job of reaching out to the alumni. Well, that's changed, okay? The new president has done a great job. You know, he understands the importance of reaching out and getting and asking for help from the alumni. Had a really great morning yesterday. My sister, Carrie Egan, and I taught a sales management class. These kids were so sharp, so motivated, wanted to learn, and all you have to do, you know, my father used to always say there's givers and takers in life, and the takers don't know what they're missing. If you can give back a little bit and basically help support this, if you build it, they will come, and they are coming back to Plymouth State. I just left the tailgate. Awesome. Caught up with people who I haven't seen in 20 years. Fantastic venue. And over here, the food, you know, I would have thought I was in New York City at a food court. It's amazing. They got a great band. And I'm not blowing smoke, folks. Come back. This is my first time back in about 15 years. Trust me, I'm going to be coming back on a regular basis.
That's great to hear. Now, not only are you doing the broadcastings in Connecticut, you're also on the board at TCU, and also have your foundation, the Posse Foundation. Talk a little bit about that foundation and how it has grown in helping athletes get into college.
You know, it's a family thing. My father-in-law, my brother-in-law got me involved, and then the Posse Foundation is very, very unique. I'll try to make this quick, but we have to give you an idea, just round numbers to try to keep your attention. We have given out in the last 27 years 1.2 billion with a B scholarship money. We've graduated over 9,000 kids on full academic scholarships, and these are kids from diverse backgrounds, okay, who may have not had the financial means to go to college. One of the most famous ones just recently you may have read about in the Wall Street Journal. He went to Middlebury College, and he was from the Bronx. He is now the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers at age 32 years old, okay? This is a young man who may not have gone to college, got an opportunity, got the support that he needed through Middlebury College and through the Posse Foundation, and is killing it. They now have 85 Fulbright scholars, and we have over 75 colleges and universities who we recognize these kids as sophomores in high school. And if you're watching this broadcast, check with your principals in your school. If you have a young man or a young woman who's got potential, okay, and may not have the financial means, they can apply and put that on the Posse radar. We have 11 offices around the country. Okay, and what happens is students go in groups of 10. So at Colby College up in Maine, every year they will take 10 students from the inner cities of Houston, drop them in Waterville, Maine, but they've had leadership training their entire senior year. Okay, 2 of the last 4 years at Colby College, the commencement address speaker in the valedictorian has been a Posse scholar.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic effort. So where can people find more information online if they would like?
Just go, if you want to Google Posse, P-O-S-S-E, and the way the name came about was 28 years ago, my good friend and the founder of our organization, Debbie Beal, basically was teaching in the public schools in New York City, and she had recognized a young man. He went to her school. He went to a fine school up in Pennsylvania, came back after his junior year and just dropped out. And she said, "What happened? You had a 3.4 GPA. You were doing great." And he said, "You know, if I had my posse with me, I probably would have made it." Meaning a support group, meaning being on a football team here at Plymouth State, meaning being part of a theater group. You have a group. When it was me, it was Kappa Delta Phi fraternity. When I was here on campus, those guys, they had my back, and this guy didn't. So she said, let's figure this out. So she sends 8 kids to Vanderbilt, okay, back 27 years ago. Vanderbilt didn't have a whole lot of diversity. And make a long story short, 8 kids went down from the Bronx. They gave them a 1 in 100 chance of graduating. All 8 graduated. First African-American homecoming queen ever. Hispanic captain of the baseball team, class president who went on to law review at Harvard. These are kids that wouldn't have gone on to college. They got the right support. They got involved with the students. You give these kids a chance, and they're killing it. And the kids that I met yesterday teaching the sales and management class here at Plymouth State, I'm looking at the camera. They are sharp, they are hungry, and they are hitting the ground running when they come to a business or to a school because they've gotten training. A lot of people forget. I mean, I'm on the train coming out of New York City a couple of weeks ago. My buddy says, "Congratulations." He hits me in the head, and he drops his laptop, his iPad in front of me. And I'm reading this, and it says, Plymouth State University ranked #1 in the United States for kids coming in from a freshman year to their senior year learning critical thinking skills. Being in the business world, I don't want to have to sit there and deal with someone who had a helicopter student, okay, mom and dad, who constantly had to say, you need to do this, 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 and this. And then they followed it. They got a great GPA, but they couldn't figure it out on their own. Plymouth State, they're teaching kids to figure it out, move forward, and it's a home run. And for Plymouth alumni, people should be very, very proud. Google the Wall Street Journal article on critical thinking, Plymouth State University. You will be very, very impressed.
We have links to that on our social media account for Plymouth State Athletics and also for Plymouth State University. Find it on the website as well. But Guy, thank you so much, not only for the Posse Foundation, but paying it forward, giving back to the community, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your time here today.
It'll be terrific. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much, Guy.
Thank you.
So we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll get some final stats and get ready for kickoff in a couple of minutes. You're watching Plymouth State football on Pemmy Baker TV.